I might, and I didn't realise we were live, but we were live and on Angel Heart Radio today, and welcome everyone. And I'd like to welcome my wonderful co-host, Anaya Joy Holili. Today we're going to be talking about loss and grief, which is actually quite a vast subject, and it can come about in so many ways in different areas of our life, not just losing someone close to us. It can be a job, it can be a friendship, it can be, so many different things, a divorce or whatever, but it still means that it's lost. So we're trying to look at how, because we can get caught up in that, can't we? Now we can get caught up in the grief, and it can keep us in a cycle for so many years. So we're here to see how we can move out of that into something greater, so you move out of that and keep living a happy life. So welcome, Anaya. Thanks for joining me today and everyone else.
Oh, you're welcome, Tibeth. Hi, everyone. Always good to be with you. And you're so right, Tibeth. Grief is such a massive and major subject in our lives. And sometimes it can be so overwhelming that we simply can't see that there's a life beyond it. And that actually can become habitual. And it's not that we're lazy or we're just, forming a pattern. We are devastated, and we just don't know how to move beyond it, out of it, and see that there could be a future beyond that grief.
Exactly. It's so right. It compounds almost, and you feel like you're in this hole and you can't get out, and what's the point? And it can lead to hopelessness and depression and all those things. And you think, why? You go, why? And you can ask that question feeling like life's against you, or God doesn't like me, or something like that. But then if you ask the question, why is that? Why does this happen on a different level, in a different way? It can start you on a journey about life itself and what that means, because really the only guarantee we've got is we're born, and then we pass from this, we do die, we pass from this reality. And if you start looking at, there's many lessons around loss and grief, so forth, but in the terms of someone leaving us or dying, it's like there's more. Having a faith actually helps you get through grief a lot faster than if you don't. There's no right or wrong to that, but it does help. And this, I think a lot of the time, that this is why it does happen, to lead us to something greater than just what we think our life is here. So, I'm talking from experience. I know you too, Anaya. Look, it started for me when I was 12. My only grandmother, and then my father at 21, and then my father-in-law at 30, and then grandfather, mother, over the years. And the latest one was last year. So I've had many people die in my life, and then there's other sorts of loss. So I'm talking from experience, and it made me look beyond just dealing with the grief itself. And this is what I'd like to others to sort of understand, or maybe look deeper than they've ever looked before. And I'm sure you've had the same experience, Anaya, with your life as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we might just do a little bit of housekeeping too, because it's such an incredibly deep and beautiful conversation. It's such a big one. I actually have forgotten to do it on the 2 shows these last couple of weeks. So do you want to go ahead and do the housekeeping?
Yeah. So we're not here to replace any professional advice from, you need to see your doctor, your mental health caregiver, anything you're worried about. We're not here to tell you what to do. We can't, we don't want to. We want to empower you. This is what these shows are about. All Angel Heart is about, is that. It's finding that voice, that knowing within yourself and connecting with that. So, but at all times, we all need help. So please, we're not here to replace any of that.
Perfect. That's so true. And that's perfect, Tibeth, because that's exactly what I love how you said that. It really is what Angel Heart Radio is about. We are so passionate about helping to inspire and empower others to empower themselves, right?
Most
And
definitely.
that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And it's a real privilege to have this platform. We've been going a long time now, over 10 years, and we've really had so many opportunities. Darlene, thank you. It's lovely to know you're watching with us. We've had so many opportunities to deeply connect with people and to assist people on their path. And we never take that lightly, and we always are honouring of all of you beautiful souls out there. So thank you all for joining us, and welcome to all the podcast listeners. It's fantastic to know that once the shows are done, by the end of day or the very next day, it'll be ready for you as a podcast. And you can find us on Blog Talk Radio. And if you Google Angel Heart Radio, there's like gazillions of places you can listen to us.
There is. I was amazed, actually. I wanted to welcome Ingrid as well. She's here in the chat room. Hi, Ingrid.
And Pam. And Pam's
yeah.
with us. Haven't seen you for a few weeks, Pam. Hello, lovely
I'm not
girl.
seeing everyone.
Oh, are you looking in the chat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There's something going on with the chat. I've got it up on my phone, so I'll take care of that for you today. If it doesn't, hang on, let's see if no, it's not happening. Okay, we'll move on.
I can see Erin's arrived anyway, but not everyone, sorry. But yeah, it is such a vast subject. Where do you start? Because, we all have, look, I've written down a list of things, whether people see this as a great loss, like loss of health, loss of a friendship, loss of a pet, financial stability, a relationship, or even, I think I said before, a friendship. That's like a separation, it's not just with a partner, a romantic partner. Illness, even something that you've wanted to do for so long, but it falls away. It doesn't happen for some reason. That's a loss as well. So there's many different things. And there's loss of even a belief. And particularly the last couple of years, probably, that has been a big one, because our beliefs have been shaken up, which is not a bad thing at all. And this is meant to shake this up. But also faith. I believe these times we feel a loss of faith. And it's at this time you need to question, what is my faith and what is my belief? So that also can be, you can feel depressed and maybe hopeless, or like all is lost. But it's not meant to do that. And it's not meant to shut us down. It's actually meant to open us up even to a greater amount than ever before. And this is what humanity needs, and the planet, of course. So all these things are leading to that. And that's how they're always saying the truth is within you. And it is, that is where you need to go, and to start looking within and question yourself about your own life and your belief. And, the Buddhists always say nothing is permanent. It's true. Nothing is permanent.
No.
So it's trying to teach us about non-attachment. And that doesn't mean lack of heart.
Or we don't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean we don't care, or nothing matters. Nothing has any meaning. It is about letting go and understanding that sometimes change is going to come about quite quickly. And when non-attachment is very difficult for me. I'm very attached, right? Very attached to the outcome of health and happiness and well-being for myself, my family, my loved ones, my animal companions. There's lots of you guys. It's all there. But that's the journey. It's knowing that we're going to begin here, where we are in this moment, and then we're going to take different steps along the way. And sometimes we're going to feel like we have wings, right? And other times we're going to feel like we've got lead anchors on our feet and can't seem to get anywhere at all, no matter how hard we try. So there's a lot in between with all of that. So to Beth, and I love the topic that you've chosen for today. So in your professional life, in your work as a clinical hypnotherapist, you must see a lot of people who are struggling with everything we've been talking about today, or have struggled at one time or another. And helping people along their way, it must be a fantastic feeling. But I'm wondering, is there like an overriding theme that you see, like lately? Does it seem to come in waves? Are people kind of going through something very similar often, do you find? Or do you find that there are just so many things happening for people, and that you're helping with a lot of different subjects all the time?
Yeah, sometimes you do go in cycles of things, but yeah, there's a lot of different things going on at once. But and everyone feels grief and loss differently too, how they want to deal with it. Um, and a lot of people are still dealing from very early issues, and so things then have come about as loss maybe. It's fascinating, but when you break everything down, it's a separation we feel from each other and from, if you want to take it higher, to God, whatever God means to you. So it's that feeling of separateness, that's why we feel grief and loss, because we feel separate. And because a lot of people don't maybe have a view of life is eternal and life goes on after you leave here. And that feeling of separation is so great that they get depressed, or they may uh, use alcohol, or any addictive process. Yeah, it can. I mean, I myself have just given up chocolate, and I know that was something that was feeding an empty part in me. So yeah, it's amazing. There's a very broad range, but I can see the core issue a lot of the time, but people have to come to that with themselves. So you go through a process of taking them so they do recognize what that is. And sometimes that takes a while to recognize what that is, because they'll only see what is happening to them, not
Yeah,
what is going on beneath the surface on that deeper level. So
yeah,
yeah, I always like, it's important for me to people get that depth of understanding, so it nips whatever it is, so they stop completely whatever they may be doing that's not helping them. So
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
say that it's anything particular. There's so much. There's so many different things that we
Especially now,
can't.
especially at the
Totally,
moment.
yeah,
Hey? Yeah.
totally, yeah.
Now,
I
Restream
would.
is working, darling, just to let you know.
Okay, thank
Restream
you.
is working, so which is the platform, guys, we use to be able to see your comments wherever you, whether it's on Facebook, Angel Heart Radio on Facebook, or YouTube, or LinkedIn, or the other places we're streaming to. Erin says, I'm so attached too. Oh, Erin, just honestly, my heart goes out to you, beautiful. We had to put our precious Sadie girl, who was a 14-year-old pug, to sleep on Friday. The grief was
Oh,
unexpectedly overwhelming. I'm going to cry. Uh, it's the first major loss in our little family my kids have had to deal with too.
mm,
So, Beth, this is huge, isn't it? Suddenly,
yeah.
here, this whole family is now experiencing this deep grief at the
It
same
is. I
time.
mean, pets, animals, friends they're a family member, so yeah, it's like losing a human being as well. It's no different. And well, I haven't had a dog with me for 20 years, and I still can miss my dog, the last dog I had. So yeah, it's very much a heart thing. And it's interesting, but it does. I think one of the things, you can't stop, you need to go through the process of grief. That's important. But it's also focusing on looking at, after you reach a certain period of, the gratitude for your life and the time that you have with whoever that may be. Um, Gratitude is a big thing, because you're grateful for being in this moment. I mean, that's all we have is in the moment. So there's so many lessons that it's teaching a family, and your 14-year-old, oh, sorry, your family, not the dog,
Yeah,
um, your whole family and your children too. Children aren't, we tend to sort of try and protect them too much from life in that way, in maybe more Westerners. I don't know, that I'm generalizing here, but we need to teach them about that. We do lose people or animals or whatever. So you know, I feel that fosters more compassion and kindness within children also when
Yeah.
they are touched by that. And yeah, it's very deep. So it's time is a big thing also, I would say.
Mhm.
Time is a healer, and I'm sure you'd attest to that, Anaya.
And it's those early days that Erin
Yeah,
and her family are in right now, isn't it? Those
yeah,
early days, everything is so raw,
raw, yeah,
and you're still looking for your loved one. You're still, you know, the things are probably still around. You've probably still got food in the cupboard or the fridge for them. It's all of those layered experiences, isn't it? Where the
mm,
grief just keeps washing over and over anew and anew, you know, and it's exhausting.
yes,
Sometimes you still may be waking up not remembering for that moment, and then it all comes crashing in. So there's a lot of layers in
yes,
experiencing grief, and each person, I, I I- when my, because Tibet knew Bonnie very, very
oh,
well, my little
yeah,
Bonnie Bell, my gorgeous little poodle. I had two little poodles, Bonnie and Dudley. Gosh, they were just such lights, weren't they, Tibet?
they were,
Absolutely
yeah.
incredible, incredible souls. And Bonnie was, I call her a joy bringer. I have never known anyone so ready to experience joy in any moment of the day or night. She was incredible. And it was absolutely heartbreaking when she crossed the Rainbow Bridge.
Mm,
And it took me, I couldn't even stay home through the day. I used to go to my daughter's, and I'd stay there and lay on the couch and watch TV mindlessly. Don't ask me what I was watching. Um, I'd take Dudley with me, and that's all I could do for about a month.
mm,
So sometimes we get on with things very quickly. Other times we'll lay on the couch for a month. Other
mm.
times, you know, we might have to go to work. So we've got to keep it together. What's your situation, Erin? Are you having to leave the house to go to work? Can you leave the house to go to work? I don't know. The kids are the kids going to school? What's happening with your situation, love? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, sometimes going to work or, you know, getting out is something that helps you because it helps you keep going. Otherwise, you just tend to think too much and you can be just overwhelmed with grief and not get out of it. And, you know, you need to feel it, but you can't let it overwhelm everything for too long.
Well, but that's a real, I don't know about that, Tibet, because for me, it wasn't that I let it overwhelm me. It's just that I was so overwhelmed with the loss
Oh,
of
yeah, I
that.
don't mean,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know you don't, but I'm just saying from another perspective, sometimes it is so overwhelming that it's very difficult not to be overwhelmed. So if I
yeah,
had to have gone to work, I don't think I could have gone, quite
yeah,
frankly.
yeah,
And yet for other people, like you say, it's such a blessing to have to get up and get dressed and go to work and do the job all day long just to help them get out of that constant loop
yeah.
of what's
I
happening.
mean, well, probably
It's such a big journey.
it is. And as we said, everyone feels it differently. I think what I mean, if you're 6 months down the track and you're still in that state, it's like, you know, 3 months. I remember when my mum died, it was like 3 months, you know, you're still expecting them to turn up sometime to see
Yeah.
them. So you still, it's like a divorce. The first 6 months are the hardest, but then, you know, you need to get out into life to recognize it still is life out there for you apart from what you're feeling. You know, you're honoring your feelings and you have to do that for sure. But it's just trying to give you hope and light to just get out. There is light out there. That's all I mean by that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So, Erin,
5-year-old.
oh, sorry, Erin says, didn't you see that comment?
I can't see all of it. I can't shift the thing,
Okay.
but I can see Erin's got a 9-year-old Bonnie and 5-year-old
Daughter
son
Bonnie, yeah.
Albert.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Haven't
and
known,
doing
they
it.
haven't, oh, they haven't known life without their Sadie girl,
Oh,
right? So this is
yeah,
a whole new way of life for them. We cried together, laughed together in the memory of her. The kids chose crystals and lit a candle to say goodbye. The emotions come in waves. Sadie passed the same day as Albert's first day of school too. Oh, I'm grieving the loss of our
wow.
dog and the loss of having my baby girl home with me. I know it's not all bad, but so many emotions. Yep. And that's it. You've got to ride with them, because those emotions, they have to be experienced in one form or another, and in our own time, to Beth too. Hey.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, that's big for the young ones, definitely. But wow. You know, it teaches us to be really gentle on ourselves as well, like more compassion. And I was reading somewhere that in the 1800s, people used to put round bands on their arms because they were mourning. It's like, take it easy on me. And it's true. It's just like you're feeling very vulnerable, and sometimes you can't talk to people because you feel like you're going to cry all the time, or, something like that. And that's okay. We all go through it. And I think it can bring people together in that way. And especially as a family, supporting each other and helping them ride through all those things. And, Barry's here. I think, hey, Barry, I think it can have positive benefits long term. No one can escape just feel. What you feel is what you feel, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It is really okay.
Yeah.
No right or wrong in that. It's just you don't want to stay forever in it. That's all, because then, you don't want to be waiting for the next thing to happen, the next grief to happen, and just keep, shut down.
Exactly.
It's trying to get through life, be open and be ready for what the rest of your life. But
the joy as well. It's the joy as well. So we have Gaia Man's watching with us again. Hello, welcome. We have, is it PITI? Sounds like Pity Diana. Thank you so much for joining with us. Barry Alcatel is with us. Visionschool.org, check him out.
Yeah, great.
1900s into the 60s in South America, people wearing those black bands. And even before that, in Victorian times, I mean, people dressed all in black. The women had to dress all in black, sometimes for a long time. So, yeah, this journey is massive, and there is a lot to learn about ourselves through it. And we're going to get triggered depending on what the situation is. Other things might get triggered as well, which can make it very, very difficult on top of everything. But like you were saying before to Beth, it's bringing down. How's Lisa? I can do Lisa. Thank you, darling. She tried to explain how to pronounce PITI, and I still couldn't get it. So well done. Thank you so much. It depends on what's underneath it. So you were saying before how important it is to take that journey and not close ourselves off. Because there can be a lot of stuff that gets triggered in our grief, can't there?
Totally. You learn a lot about yourself. That's the thing. It's like how you deal with things, what even primal emotions come up within that, like even ending a relationship, how things can go at the ending of a relationship, and the way you navigate through that, and how you react. It brings up all this really interesting finding out about the self and how we operate. And so it can come about in so many ways, but again, it's learning about ourselves, who we are and what's inside of us. And do we like that bit? Do we not like that bit? And do we want to change something, or how could we do it differently? What have we learned? There's so many questions around that. And as we were talking about earlier, like the lack of maybe faith or belief, the beliefs that have been changed and are still in a constant flow at this point on the planet. This, what do we believe? It always comes back to what's inside of you. So the grief and loss is the same. I mean, again, there's so many questions just in the environment, and with COVID, it's non-stop, and there's a barrage of things, and it's happening very quick for us too. Even the loss of time, what we feel is time. I don't know about you, but some days I feel like the loss of time is not, I wish it would go back. And sometimes we wish everything to go back, in situations, but we can't do that. We've got to keep moving forward, and just be with that and be okay with it. Yes. I've just noticed Pity saying betrayal and deceit are hard to withstand and overcome. Oh, yeah. Again, that's another big subject in a way, that would, yes, there's a loss of trust. I mean, that's a big one as well in a person or a belief or a situation, certainly. So again, that would come back to understanding ourselves more and what we may not looked at or, chose to see in these situations. It's varied so much,
It
and I can't
really
go
is.
right into that.
And
Yes.
sometimes it's that loss of safety, feeling safe. Like you make a decision about to trust somebody, right? Lisa, I want to hear your thoughts on this, please. And anybody else. So we make a decision that we feel safe in a relationship with someone and we trust them. Maybe we tell them really personal, intimate things about our lives that we haven't shared with another person. And then we find out the whole relationship maybe isn't what we thought. And maybe there wasn't that level of trust there after all. So that can then lead us to begin to question ourselves as well. Can I trust my own judgment is a very big one. And so this is that journey of, that's the pathway to the inner self, learning how to make peace with that and understand that sometimes we do trust people or relationships, or we invest a lot in them. Again, it goes back to attachment as well, I know. And sometimes we find out that it really wasn't the relationship that maybe we'd built up in our own minds. I've done this. I made a lot of excuses for a relationship. And then, of course, when things were revealed and began to go in a completely unexpected path for me, I felt completely betrayed. And yet now when I look back to Beth, honestly, the warnings were there all along. I just chose not to see any of them because I was too busy trying to make the relationship into what I had in my head. And do all the rescuing and saving, which was part of my journey.
Yeah. I think I don't know if there'd be many people out there that haven't experienced that. And it is quite a lesson in learning to trust yourself and what self-belief in that way, and really tuning in to the inner self. What are the signals? Often your body tells you things. There are situations, as you said, we have this thing built up in our mind of what is, but we're not looking at the reality of that. And particularly that can be with women in relationships. They want to, I've done it, and I'm sure many of us have done it, where you see someone that you really like, but you can see their potential, but you're not seeing what's in front of you, the truth of that reality. So then you feel betrayed when it doesn't work out, as you said, but really it was there all the time. And so you've got to learn to trust yourself again, to know that you can trust yourself, your feeling. You've got to trust the feeling, not the head so much. The mind will just keep going and give you all little stories. So yeah, that's a big one for many people. As long as you learn from it, it's not a wasted lesson. So it's not a loss. It was a great lesson.
Yeah.
If
It just
you look
feels
at
like
it,
a loss at the time, right?
Yeah, that's right. It feels like a loss at the time, but hindsight's wonderful. There's so many things where something hasn't happened and you feel betrayed or are lost that something hasn't happened. But, a few years down the track, you look back and you go, oh, thank goodness that didn't happen. That what I thought was lost was actually, thank you, I was being looked after. So again, it's back to trust. It just goes on and on and on. So many stories with that. I'm just looking here.
It's self-revelation, isn't it?
Yes.
These things reveal to us. How many times have you said it over your lifetime yourself to Beth? I know I have. I know a lot of other people have. They'll meet someone. It could be a friend. It could be a potential partner or a lover, and, you know, you say, yes, but, you know, maybe you don't feel really that respected. Yes, but, you know, it's new, and that's just the way they are. And maybe the person puts out cutting, biting remarks, for example. That's just the way they are. And you love them, so you just let it go. And then it begins to build and build, because, of course, what we're doing is we're teaching that person in every experience how we're happy to be treated by them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that takes a long time. Sometimes I'm 63, for heaven's sake. I'm getting so much of this now. My relationships now are completely different.
Mm.
But it took a lot of what felt like hard knocks along the way. But of course, turned out that what was really occurring to Beth was the truth was just being revealed.
Yeah.
And my illusions were being uncovered and unveiled. And then it was up to me, how deeply do I want to pursue this? How deeply do I really want to have that healthy relationship, and where does it begin? And I realized, of course, that healthy relationship begins with me.
Yeah.
That's where it begins. It
It
cannot begin
does.
anywhere else. Yeah.
And see, then, before you get that realization, you have a loss of respect for yourself. And so, unfortunately, that flows on. And so, hopefully, out of those situations, you begin, as you build that, you regain that again. So, we see loss as a terrible thing, but sometimes we have to experience something before we get it, before we
Mhm.
learn about it, before we give it to ourselves. We've all been brought up in conditional families, as they were. It goes back and back and back. It's just breaking the pattern and being truthful to what is going on, not what you're told, but what you feel. You can feel the truth, not what you're told. So yeah, there's so many different circumstances. I'm sure there's someone else. Oh yes, Pity was saying about gaslighting and psychopathic behaviours, and empaths try to be forever helpful. Yes, but that in itself can be a trap. Like you can't save everyone, because not everyone wants to be saved. Again, you're putting yourself, the truth of, looking at the truth of things is seeing why you're doing that.
Mm.
Again, it's
Yeah.
just being honest. And if you lose that relationship, is that a loss? I wouldn't
And
think
it's
so.
that the empath part is so, so true, Lisa. Because this is the thing with empaths, right? We tend to take on everybody else's feelings and call them our own. Sometimes we don't know what are our feelings and what are others, what belongs to us, what belongs to somebody else. We want to save everyone, right? Especially if you have what I term earth angel energy. Doesn't mean you're an angel, but it's the earth angel energy. You've literally come to bring change to the planet. You have literally come to bring meaningful change. And so therefore we can then easily mistake that and say, I then need to fix everyone. It's up to me to change everyone. And if I see the potential in someone, which is what we do, how many times have we as empaths fallen in love with somebody's potential and believed to be true
Yeah.
of them, when really potential unrealized doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's still a question mark there. It's still a possibility, right? Um, so that's the thing, you guys. If you're an empath, move into the truth of what is happening, not what you believe could happen, would happen, should happen, and you can just carry everything through. I mean, I've been with people that have had amazing potential and believed in them so desperately without a shred of evidence to suggest that anything was ever going to be any different, other than the fact that perhaps they bought me some flowers. Perhaps they did say something nice to me
Mm.
in the
Mm.
sea of unkind things or thoughtless things that were happening. So the journey of the empath, I believe, is to then become aware, self-aware. And when we become self-aware and really take that journey to stop taking on other people's stuff, we then begin the journey of transforming ourselves from the caterpillar. We go into the chrysalis and we do become the butterfly, free to fly unencumbered. And it is a journey, and it's going to take some of us a really long time. And that's okay, because it's part of what we're doing here. And remember, we have this incredible friend, Javelle. Wow, what an awesome being on the planet. And I used to bemoan stuff that was going on with my mother. I don't know, Javelle. I don't know why, she's not trying hard enough or whatever. We often feel like we can see the truth of another person. And Javelle would calmly sit there and he'd just say, love, she's not finished with the lesson yet. And nor are you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I started to look at it that way. I thought, well, okay, so if I'm actually not finished with the lesson yet, it's not that I'm wrong or maybe I need to be fixing everything. Could it possibly be that I'm still in the learning? So there are things for me to learn. And if I stop giving myself such a hard time and feel like, because my thing was, I've got to fix it for everyone. And if you're not doing it right, then, I'm going to tell you how to do it right. Beth knows about this personally. And what it really meant underneath that was that I was scared because my world didn't feel safe. I didn't feel protected because I was looking to other people to make me feel protected. So how do I feel protected? I look after myself and show kindness and love to myself and respect and honor and grace and gratitude. And that automatically begins to build new boundaries. And we might not even know that at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, every lesson, everything we go through, actually, it's not wasted. It's not wasted effort. If the soul wants us to learn so many things, or to experience, I should say, so many things, and gain beauty of the soul, to add to the soul the strength and all the knowing and the power of the soul. And so anything, we think that we're giving ourselves a hard time by, not knowing this or going through that, and, not understanding about loss or this or that. But as long as in the end, it can take a lifetime, it can take a few lifetimes, eternity is eternity. There's no set schedule. So, but obviously we do want to grow. We want to make our lives more harmonious and happier. So there's so many, learning to let go and not have attachment to certain things. Like, yeah, we all can have an idea of what we'd love, but it's being okay with what is a big thing, and that can bring a lot of peace to you. And that's a big thing. Having peace and acceptance of what has happened or what is happening is one of the greatest gifts I think you can ever gain from any grief or loss. Like going through an experience like that and then coming to that terms of acceptance is such a wonderful thing in your life. And then that sort of just spreads out into all areas, and then that changes your own vibration, and so therefore things change around you also, and you come into more harmony, and yeah, doors open. It is about just keeping your heart open, no matter what, no matter how raw, no matter how, how you handle it. Get help, but it is an experience, and there's no right or wrong in it.
No,
So
not a bit.
No judgment. There's no judgment. Only humans judge other humans, and that's one thing with loss or grief or whatever, not to judge yourself or judge others, because you don't know. I remember in Australia many years ago, Lindy Chamberlain, when the judgment, that woman, a dingo had killed her baby, but none of us, well, we all had judgment because she didn't cry on TV or she just spoke about it. That poor woman went through so many issues. She went to jail. And
DNA evidence proved that it was murder and not the dingo, because the dingo came into the tent and took the baby. Took little Azaria, and because she had a different name, people thought it meant something to do with the devil. There was a lot of judgment going on. I think she went to jail for 12 years or something. It was heartbreaking. And of course, they then found out all those years later that the methods they were using to the DNA methods they were using were not reliable, and it was all contaminated. And it was still brought about as scientific evidence and scientific fact. And I saw Lindy on, have you ever watched that show, Arn's Brush with Fame?
Yes.
So she was on with Arn Doe, who is an amazing guy. And he paints people's portraits and speaks to them about their lives. And he paints these incredible portraits. And he's won the Archibald Prize here in Australia for a portrait he did of his dad. Arn, A-H-N. How do you spell his last name? And we'll have a look for you, put up on in the comments later, guys. And what had happened was and this was such a powerful example for me, he was speaking to Lindy about the depth of what really happened. And it was heartbreaking to watch some of it, and so glorious as well, because she said at the end of the day, what happened to her changed the law forever. And the DNA methods that were being used as proof forever. So one person, one family really experienced hell. I mean, they were judged. Her parents were judged. What did you do to raise such a terrible child, kind of thing.
Yeah, I
was staggered. Yeah, I was staggered by the depth of her grace. So she'd found her inner pathway. That much was obvious to me. And so that was a very good example to Beth of how one thing can look like something and be proven, and yet we find out that it was incorrect the entire time. And that woman is innocent and always has been.
Yes. I mean, that was such a loss, not only her little daughter, but a loss of so many things. And it was so public in the community, you know, unbelievable. Like she, as a soul, she came in, boy, what a lesson, what a thing to go through and gain so many characteristics, you know, strengths within her, her whole family. I mean, unfortunately, they did, her and her husband separated a long time ago, but I think they're still
friends, I think.
Yeah. So, you know, she lost her family in the end, but I think they've both come through. But just, you know, that's just one example that was in public. But so many people that, you know, I hear so many stories with people coming to me, you know, with the therapies I do, like you'd be amazed, or you probably wouldn't be amazed, but the stories, the devastation, the things that people go through. And there has to be meaning to this. There has to be a reason why this happens. And to me, it's not to punish anyone, but it's there to take you deeper and come out stronger. We're here to become stronger in this third dimensional reality. It's not always easy to live. We've got lots of things to contend with, but we're here. If we can, you know, deal with these sorts of things in this reality, how great and how powerful our soul becomes, and more beautiful, and more, so many of the heart energies open up to other people, and then we see our connectedness, and that's truly at the end all what it's about, to understand we are all connected, and there is actually no such thing as loss, but that's something we have to look at ourselves and go within and gain a belief in that. No one can give you that. No one can tell you it's 100% true. That's something you have to experience and seek for yourself. There'll be so many instances that will make you look at that, but in different ways. You may not recognize it first. So, yeah.
So true.
Great.
And I love that, Tibet, because it's the spiritual journey at the end of the day, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
as you say, when we begin to change our own vibration, because of the way we are with ourselves and the gratitude work that we do, simple things,
Yeah.
it automatically then begins to change all the energy around us. And sometimes people will change right along and things will eventually become more harmonious. Other times friendships and relationships will come to a close because they're not sustainable within a healthy framework
Yep.
of respect, boundaries, gratitude, and support.
Mm.
And then it's up to us to make that decision. Do we want to stay in that frequency or do we want to keep shifting out of it? And
Yes.
sometimes relationships are just done. And that can be very painful in itself. And it can bring in, as is my case, great grief and feelings of loss.
Mm.
But now I'm at that place where I feel completely free. I don't want a relationship with that person, not because I don't like them or because they did something to me or whatever. It's about, it wasn't healthy, to Beth. And if it's not a healthy relationship, I just don't want unhealthy relationships anymore. I'm choosing not to have unhealthy relationships. Doesn't mean it's
Exactly.
easy. Yeah.
Exactly. There's no animosity. It's just you get done with something, whether that's a person or a thing or a situation. That's just leaving with that openness really changes your energy and what comes in next also. So whatever goes, we see as a loss will be filled up. I think that's
That's
sometimes what
right.
we can forget.
When we create the vacuum, something will replace it. And if it's something that's coming in within the framework of healthy respect for ourselves, that will be something much more respectful. Now, I want to acknowledge some wonderful people that we've got with us. Erin, we mentioned Erin Gordon before. Now, Erin,
Yes.
she loves Ando, Hando, everyone. Incredible, amazing interviewer, incredible artist. He really is, guys. Check him out. He's also an author. Kimberly is with us. She's watching with us.
Hi.
Welcome, Kimberly. Wonderful to have you with us. Erin made a fantastic comment earlier. My husband and I lived and worked in a remote Aboriginal community for many years. We were privileged to bear witness to how the Indigenous culture deal with grief when someone passes. It's called sorry business, a display of such raw emotional howls and wailing that echoed the land. Wow, day and night, I'm feeling it. I grew up in a family that didn't show emotions or grief. Don't cry, and if you do, that kind of limit. Don't burden others with your grief, as it's confronting as it is to witness sorry business. For me, that first time, it taught me that it is okay to show your grief, acknowledge it, and release it, and allow it to be known. Allowing yourself to grieve is so important. You are so right, Erin, because
Yes.
when we don't allow ourselves, and little things like when my brother Steve made his crossing, he was only 22, Tibet, and I was in shock for a very long time over that. And I found I was doing things like sitting on trains and just telling strangers everything, traffic lights. Anyone that even glanced at me, I was stopping and talking to them. And part of me could see me doing it outside of myself and was yelling at me, stop it, stop telling that person everything. And I couldn't stop it. And it was only later when I read that this is often part of how people experience grief and express what's happening to them, such a major loss, that I began to realize that this is completely normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I realized that, I felt a lot better. And somehow just realizing it and understanding it, I don't know what it did, but I suddenly could choose who I was sharing my loss with. and sometimes it was still strangers, but I didn't feel like I had that verbal, vomiting going on
Yeah.
everywhere. So no matter what you're going through, as Erin was saying, the Indigenous culture here in Australia, the Indigenous people that, she witnessed, they have a specific way, and it's even got a name, and it's called sorry business. They have a specific way of coming together as a community or as a family or as a group and experiencing and expressing and acknowledging their loss together. Because how often do we do it in private? How often have you cried on the toilet, in the bathroom, cried so no one would hear you? That is a lonely place, and we're taught to do that, and it's not conducive to healing.
No. And a lot of older cultures, they do certainly grieve a lot better. They are taught how to grieve, and it's very open, which is great. And so you get so many people coming with issues, and underneath there is, as you say, in the West particularly, or in some cultures, they're taught to shut everything down, like don't cry, don't do this, don't show your emotions. And that, when people sit on that for a lot of years, then things happen in your life that it's trying to get you to acknowledge the grief. So there'll be situations that will come in that will trigger that you don't really want, but it's trying to show you something that you haven't acknowledged, that a feeling that's swirling still around in your body, in your heart, in all sorts of areas of your body that hasn't been acknowledged. So even for your health, it's important to be able to grieve properly and express it to someone. If you've got no one, just go and find, like a counselor or someone to help you deal with it. But understanding, there's a lot of issues come up in different ways, but they are suppressed grief, which is quite interesting. And grief, loss, sadness can be around the lungs as well. So just be aware of your own, what may happen around your lungs with people. It's like it's taking in life. And when we feel loss, we don't feel like we're taking in life. We're just feeling, that there's no life, that we're incredibly sad. But as long, as I said earlier, as long as you can start to move through it without staying in it for so long, I can understand people, when you lose a partner that you've been together for a long time, that's a big jolt, because there's that energy that you've been together for so long, and that feels like a part of you is gone. And sometimes people come and go, why did they go and not me? But there are reasons that happens. Maybe someone, I know I've had some ladies who have come who their partner has gone, and they needed to learn to be more independent. They were never going to be the ones to go first. They had to know how to enjoy their life and be more independent and empowered. So they're getting a second chance. It doesn't mean there was anything wrong, but their partner leaves first, so they will do this. So there's always a reason behind our going. It's not personal. It's not personal, and it's just their time.
Right. They feel like they've left us, right? Why did you leave me?
Yeah. And anger is a part of grief, which is fine. You need to get that anger out, because you do. Why did you leave me? But that will pass. But understand that there is always a reason when our time comes, and it's not, we're grieving for ourselves when they go. They're fine. They don't have a body to worry about anymore. They're doing their thing in another reality. And I think also another thing is, if people can start to realize this is just one reality that we're in, and realize there's more other life other than this, that can help, because you realize they're not fully gone. Some people believe there's nothing after life here. It's all blackness, there's nothing else. But maybe if you can open to the fact that there are other realities other than this one, they've gone to that other reality. It's like living in one country and they've gone to another one. They're alive, but you just can't see or talk to them maybe, but they're still alive in a different life. So even I'm trying to reach that sort of understanding or thought that may exist can help grief, particularly with loved ones
Yeah,
that have gone.
absolutely, absolutely. And
So,
it's expressing grief and anger and all the other parts, because grief is huge. It's got so many different layers and expressions. I'm going to move through different phases, um, as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross outlined, but it's in a healthy way. Sometimes we can feel destructive as well. And I think the bottom line with all of this, whether it's someone who has treated us unkindly, whatever it is, it's up to us to move out of situations with compassion. Because the more we judge, and that word should, now, don't do this, you shouldn't be doing that. You've grieved long enough. Come on, snap out of it. That really boils my blood, that statement. Sometimes it's going to take us a long time. Sometimes it might not. It depends on what else is under the grief, right? There's so much there. And I think we have to be kind enough to ourselves to know that it's going to take the time it's going to take, and gift ourselves compassion. And it's being constructive compassion as well. There's a difference between pity and sympathy and empathy and compassion. And what we really want to experience and express, if as much as we possibly can, is compassionate empathy, and whatever the other was I said, I can't remember now.
sorry, I'm gone.
So
I know what you were saying.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? It's having that. It's always being compassionate, because the more we judge other people and judge ourselves, that's a heavy burden. And I tell you what, at the end of the day, there's only one person that's going to carry that burden. It's going to be us.
Yeah.
And we could really do without that. So if we could just cut ourselves some slack in one area, that would be the finger pointing, whether it's to us or to anybody else, the criticism, blame, judgment, all of those things, while we may be directing at somebody else, we're really wearing that ourselves, aren't we, to Beth?
Definitely. Yeah, we're not seeing what's inside of ourselves. We're projecting it out. So, yeah, when you go to judge anyone about loss, or whether they're grieving too long or this or that, as you're saying, just remember, be compassionate, how it's felt for you. So it's just keeping the heart open and no judgment, and just have that kindness and compassion. We need that so much in our world. That would change our world totally if we all lost that, and we would just have our hearts open. Not in a naive way, but compassion. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I can't believe that it's nearly, we've got 2 minutes. We could keep going with this, but yeah.
That's it. So we're going to continue this on this type of topic on Wednesday in the USA, Thursday here in Australia. We've got a guest coming on with us. We're really excited. A counsellor, Philip, who is coming on to share some of his knowledge and wisdom as well. We've got wonderful Tibet here sharing today. And our specific topic is going to be adoption, the grief that comes with adoption if you're the adopted person and you just don't seem to fit and it hasn't been a happy adoption for you. So thanks for starting this whole thing up for us, Tibet.
My pleasure. Yeah, that'll be very interesting. Yeah, because that's pretty huge as well. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, definitely. Wow. Well, thanks. Thank you, Anae, for being with me again today. And thank you, everyone. We've got lots of lovely people in the chat room today. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope in some way what we've talked about has made some sort of difference to you or helped you in some way. So really enjoyed doing this again. So, look forward to listening to your show on Wednesday, Anae. That sounds really good.
Thursday here in Australia. Yeah.
Sorry, Thursday, yes.
Yeah. 8 p.m. Central, guys, if you're on the USA timeline, and that's 11:30 a.m. here in Brisbane, Australia. So thanks for that, Tibet. That's great. Yeah.
All right then. Thank you so much. And goodbye, everyone. And blessings to you all. Bye
Thanks,
for now.
everyone. Take good